Welcome to an exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety, guys. My guest today shares raw, real experiences from overcoming cancer, addiction, and obesity to stepping into the boxing ring. Please welcome in the one, the only Devin. He also goes by AKA Trauma Saves on YouTube. Devin, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Trauma saves could be because trauma saved my life.
Definitely, man. So let's get into that. Let's talk about your story. So, like that's a lot right there in just one sentence alone, man. Think about it. We went from cancer to addiction to obesity to now you're in the boxing ring, man. So give us a little bit of where we're missing in between there.
Man, life is full of all kinds of ups and downs and crazy things. But I think the genesis of everything really started with the cancer diagnosis for me. I had already been trying to get my life on track. I've always been somewhat of a bigger guy, but when I was diagnosed with cancer, that was something that was kind of the fire under my ass that I needed to really get my life together, to get my stuff together and start taking my health and life more seriously in general. Um, like I said, I had already started trying before that, and then obviously the cancer thing kind of put me behind schedule a little
Yeah,
bit.
definitely.
And
I
even
believe it.
outside of that, stuff that I haven't shared online, I broke my foot really badly when I was trying to get in shape. I was playing basketball and I broke my foot and I was unable to walk for about 9 months. And then after I came back, I'm probably within about 3 to 6 months, I ended up breaking my ankle playing basketball. And then right after that, I ended up with a cancer diagnosis. So 3 years back to
Jeez.
back, I had some crazy stuff going on. Yeah, once I was diagnosed and once I got through the cancer thing, or during cancer and cancer treatment, I knew in my head, I'm like, you know what? This is it. This is exactly what I needed to ignite the flame and say, start taking your life more seriously. Stop taking your life for granted. Stop taking your freedom and your health for granted. And I knew that once I was able to, I was going to change my life completely. And that's exactly what I worked on doing.
The cancer's rough, man, too, because depending on what stage you're in and things like that, too, I think with cancer, it scares everybody, man, because like it's one of those things a lot of people don't get away from, and it's
Mhm.
it's so cool, man. So then you get to addiction. So what were you addicted to at that point? So can you give us a little taste of what happened there?
Yeah, well, see, for me, I felt like it was a food addiction. It's
Okay.
something that I still live with
I mean,
even
it's a
to
real
this
addiction. Think
very
about it. It,
day.
it really is a thing. People have bad relationships with their food now these days. So I mean, it's
It
relatable.
is. It is. It is. And it's something that, sometimes I hesitate to say that because people are like, oh man, just stop eating, just stop eating so
Here
much,
goes the great
whatever.
advice people
I
give. Yep.
mean, but I mean, look around. You know what I mean? Even if you don't want to call it a food addiction, like you said, it's an unhealthy relationship with nutrition and with food.
Hmm.
Everybody wants to eat for satisfaction. Everybody wants to eat to feel good. Everybody wants to eat because it tastes good. But when you start realizing that food is what your body uses to create itself, what your body uses to make you who you are, then you can start to take it a little more seriously and say, what I put into my body is what I'm going to get out of my body.
Yeah. No, I think it's a perfect example. Think about it, because when you put that negative shit in, it makes you feel worse. Like you eat that fast food, you get sluggish. And, we live in a I want it now society. Like we want everything so quick. But really, a lot of times you could meal prep a lot of these things and boom, you're ready to go in 5 minutes. Why do you think
Right.
Factor and all these other ones are so successful now? It's because they're applying to that everybody needs thing. And the unhealthy food thing is happening a while ago, man. Like if people really read the labels of shit that they're eating, dude, like the crap they're putting in. Oh my God, dude, it's horrible because there's no regulation of it. They're just letting us do whatever we want, and nobody's telling us, hey, listen, But I think my wife was telling me that they're starting to push some kind of like system where they're going to start regulating that kind of stuff. It's like about time, but it's still like it does. I think the other thing too when it comes to healthy eating, people are like, oh, it doesn't taste good. Yeah, but make it taste good. There's so many different things out there you can use to make it taste better that you don't have to add all this extra crap in it.
Right. And if you're looking at labels and you don't recognize half the shit that's listed, it's probably not something that you need to be putting into your body. You know what I
Right, if
mean?
you
Like if you
can't
can't pinpoint
explain
what
what
it
it
is.
is. Exactly. I love it.
So it's something that I kind of learned and also it's something there's a delayed reaction. I could eat McDonald's every day for the next 6 months and I won't start feeling like shit for a while. You know what I mean? It takes an accumulation, years and years of abusing your body in that way before you really, I mean, you'll feel some stuff, you have an upset stomach, whatever, you have all that. But I mean, like real health issues don't come until 5, 10, 15 years later of abusing food, and emotional eating and things like that. And then you look in the mirror one day and you're 100 pounds overweight, or you have high cholesterol or high blood
Diabetes,
pressure
yep.
or whatever, diabetes. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many things, but it doesn't happen instantly. So we always think, oh, it's okay. I'll just have McDonald's again. I'll go to Burger King again, whatever. Yeah, that stuff comes back to haunt you, man. And it's something that, I had to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and say that this is a very unhealthy relationship with food. And then you start looking at your habits and you start looking at, well, when am I doing these things? Is it because I'm crunched for time? Am I really that crunched for time? Or is it just that it's super easy to go to the drive through really quick, and I can just as easily make something in the kitchen in 20 or 25 minutes, or I can go to the drive through and back in 20 or 25 minutes. And then you weigh those things out and say, well, what would be the smarter decision?
Doing
One is a
it.
little bit easier and
Yeah,
one
yeah,
is
but think of it though. Like you have a point there. Doing it yourself, you could control what ingredients you're putting in it. In fact, you could make something better than what they can make, and it'll taste better. Because taste
absolutely
is the big thing for everybody. It's got to taste good. Because if not, we're not going to
right,
eat it. But it's like
right,
make it yourself. Then, like make it, craft it the way you want it to taste. You know what I mean? Like you can make
right.
that McDonald's burger your own spin and make it healthier. You can change the bun out for
Hmm.
low carb buns. They have all these other options these days you can use instead of that, and things like that too. And I love though that the fact that you say that you were addicted to food because a lot of people are addicted that way. You think about it
Yeah,
because the unhealthy relationships began when we were kids. Like your parents just kept giving into your crap if you want it. Oh well, you can have
right,
all that stuff, and you don't think about it like those small things like oh it's okay, you can have all the snacks and everything else. But no,
right,
we're programming them the wrong way. We're telling them the wrong thing, and it affects their mental health as well because your gut is basically your brain and your body. A lot of people don't know that, but you know, it's a crazy fact. It's like, people don't think about
absolutely.
the things that you put in can affect it, like I have vitamin C deficiency. I have vitamin D deficiency, sorry. But people don't understand that though that affects my depression. Like my depression's really bad, but my vitamin D deficiency doesn't help. It actually increases it worse. And my anxiety, you magnify
Right.
that. And that's because, things like that too. Any kind of deficiencies you have all affected, and things like that too. And I'm diabetic. That's why I said diabetes, because I'm diabetic. Because like you said, I indulged all them years. I did this to myself, and now I have to deal with the repercussions. Like, I went to the doctor recently and had a scare where it's like, oh, well, you're vitamin D deficient and all these other things, your numbers are going up, things like that. Now it's like you face that moment where you have to look at yourself in the mirror and go, am I going to do something or am I going to roll over on the floor and die over there? Because this is what's going to happen if I don't start doing something now before it's later. Because I lost my uncle, unfortunately, to diabetes. He was really bad. I remember back in the day, man, he was so big. He kind of like, I know this is going to sound fucked up, but the best way to reference, he looked like Heifer from Rocko's Modern Life. You ever seen that cartoon? But he was
Yeah,
just that
absolutely.
big. You know what I mean? That was the best way to basically give it to somebody that how big he looked. He was a big guy though,
Yeah.
but I always saw him the same way. But then you start watching him deteriorate when his diabetes got so bad, he started slimming down, and you're just like, oh no, you could tell he just started looking worse and worse and worse because he didn't control it. And now when I got the diagnosis, it was like a death sentence to me because people the way they treated you was like, oh, I'm sorry you got diabetes. It's like, well, no, I don't like how this reaction feels that you're doing this, and
Right.
and that was like the wake up call too. And then then when I recently, I went to the doctor now, it's like, am I going to continue to let this become a problem or am I going to wake up and say, hey, listen, this is enough. I got to do something about this problem now.
Yeah, and like you said, it's an accountability thing, and it's
Hmm.
hard to look yourself in the mirror and be like, these issues are my fault.
Hmm.
This is almost everything that I'm going through. Like life is going to happen to us, but so much of the bad things that happen to us and so much of the things that we don't like going on are things that we actually have some sort of control over. It's just that we don't realize where the root of the problem is. And the thing with the diet and nutrition and the eating, you know, we don't learn how to properly eat, most of us. We don't learn how to feed our bodies for energy. And also, everybody's life is different. So, somebody might need more protein or more
Hmm.
carbs than the next person. And people really don't understand how to eat according to your current lifestyle. So, going back to the cancer thing, being diagnosed with cancer, and I was in the clinic every day getting my blood tested, and I was seeing like my magnesium, my vitamins, my
Oh,
white
I
blood
bet.
cells, my red blood cells. And you see how everything changes. And I'm thinking about what I'm eating at the time, or what did I eat the day before, or what did I eat that morning? And you think about the results that are coming out. And like you said, all those micronutrients
Hmm.
that have an effect on your health and your mood and your emotional state and all these things. And that's why for me going through cancer was such, and people kind of are shocked when I say this, but going through cancer was an amazing experience for me. It was an amazing learning opportunity for me to see what I put into my body and the kind of effects that it has, whether that's an immediate effect or whether that's an accumulative effect over the long term. So, me going through that was sort of like an awakening moment for me. And I'm like, wow, like all these little things have been happening in my body for the last 30 years, and I never thought about them. You just think about the most macro things, the protein, the carbs, the fats and things like that. But all those micronutrients and all those things
Hmm.
have an accumulative effect as well. And so that for me is what kind of really woke me up and said, "Hey, let's get this shit together and let's get our shit on track.
I don't see why people like look at you weird when you say that though, but look at where you're at now from where you came from though. If that didn't happen, you may have not have come to where you're at now. Trauma saves may not even exist at that point, you know? So I think that people are too quick to look at the negative side of things, you know, and I think it's interesting, honestly, man. I read you like I said, I was reading your profile and your YouTube page and things like that too. I think it's a real powerful statement. You went from this to prove that you can do anything that you can do if you put your mind to it, you know? You beat cancer,
Absolutely
which, you know,
anything.
that was a great thing. Be cancer's a tough thing to beat. You beat your food addiction because, you know, you realize that, hey, I'm fucking up, you know, I gotta fix these problems now, you know, and now you're boxing now too, which is really cool too, because, you know, that's a lot of listen, if you think about it nowadays, people say boxing's a sport is dying out, you know, because you don't have all the big names you had before though. But you got to remember, I grew up with Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, and all them other guys, you know, in their things too. Like, so I had all the flashy names back then for me. It was different. I grew up with Michael Jordan. I grew up with all these big names and things like that too, that a lot of these guys that could only sit there and talk about that didn't get to see these things that I got to see firsthand, you know. It was great for me. To me,
Yeah.
I enjoy watching boxing. MMA, I love watching that stuff too, you know. I love watching
I mean,
anything that
hey,
Mike Tyson did. And, you know, even that recent Tyson fight thing, listen, I think that was a hoax. But, you know, anyways, we won't talk
it
about it.
was, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
doing it
no,
for the money grab. He knew what he was doing. Like
of
you
course, and as he should, he deserves it. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And at the end of the day, you know, boxing is not a dying sport. For one, boxing, you know, we don't have the names that we had growing up. You know, from our
We were
era,
spoiled, if
but
anything, Devin. Wouldn't you say we got spoiled, man?
we had some great years for sure. It was when the best fought the best, but there's still huge names out there and there's still really good boxers.
Yeah.
And honestly, I believe some of the boxers today are better than the boxers back then, just like some of the basketball players are better than the basketball players back then. I mean, humans have evolved, sports has evolved, strategy has evolved, you know, nutrition, training, you know, all this stuff has evolved. So overall, you know, when you take as a whole,
Hmm.
boxing is better than it was back then. Basketball, football, all these things are better. Yeah, the rules have changed a little bit and you know the names are different and all that. But if you ask some of these young up and comers that are, you know, 8, 10, 12 years old, like we were when Mike Tyson and all these
Hmm.
guys and Lennox Lewis were around, they're gonna say the same thing in 20 years. You know, boxing is dead or basketball is
Yeah.
dead or whatever. But these are their stars. These are who they look up to.
Yeah, like
So it's just a
LeBron
different
today for
era, you
kids
know what I
is like
mean?
Michael Jordan for us, and then you had that great
Exactly.
debate,
It's just different
you
era.
know, and then Larry Bird back there, you know, was like, you know
Exactly.
what I mean? It's a great comparison, honestly, because you know there was a funny thing I saw the other day. They were talking about LeBron. He pays a lot of money to take care of himself. I'm like, yeah, why not? Look at the amazing shape the man's in. He's
I
he's
mean,
X
he's in
amount
his
old. He
50s,
yes,
right?
exactly. He's in his 40s, and look how great he looks. You know, like you said, all the technology's there. He's got access to it. Why not? I mean, why not take care of yourself?
That's
Like,
what I'm saying.
don't hate
And I
on a
guarantee
man for
Michael
taking care of himself.
right, and I guarantee Michael Jordan and the other guys like that that took it just as serious as like LeBron does,
Mm.
they would be doing the same thing back in the
Listen,
80s and
The
90s
Last
if they
Dance
had
was
it
an eye
available.
opener for people, man. They're all like, "Well, he's such an asshole." I'm like, "But okay, he was an asshole, but look at what he did, though. I mean, at the end of the day,
Right.
you could call him whatever name you want. Everybody had respect for him. Hell, even Dennis Rodman had respect for him. And we all remember how outrageous Dennis Rodman was
Hey,
with
look,
all the insane
sometimes you
shit."
gotta right, but sometimes you gotta be a little bit of an asshole. You
Hmm.
don't gotta be rude, but you gotta be a little bit of an asshole to be successful sometimes. It takes
Dude,
a, you
the
know,
best
just
stories
a
though,
small
Devin.
bit of it.
The best stories are the ones where the people talk about how they were talking shit to Michael Jordan. He's like, "Oh hell no!" Did I tell you about the time so and so was talking shit to Mike? Oh hell no! Those are my favorite ones. When you see those on YouTube, those little clips that pop up, I'm like, "Oh no!" And he's like, "Yeah, you know, let me tell you about the time. Oh, so and so was talking shit to Mike, and Mike's like, I'm gonna drop 45. I'm like, he's like, you don't want to do that, man. You don't want to talk to Mike like that. You got to be like, Mike. He didn't mean it. Mike, he didn't. He's like apologizing to him, and he's like, yeah, what do
Right.
you do? He dropped 46 on him. I was like, oh hell no. But it's you know it's so interesting. Let's get into your YouTube channel now, man. Have you always been a big mental health advocate, or is that something that you just kind of grew into?
You know, it's something that I feel like well, I shouldn't say always, but overall, I feel like I've been a very mentally stable, sound, rational person for most of my life. You
Hmm.
know, even going back to I remember being a teenager and people just always telling me, "Man, you got an old soul, you know, you're very emotionally intelligent, you're very emotionally aware and things like that." And, you know, at the time just thinking that it's just stuff that people are saying or whatever. But as I get older and, you know, get to be exposed to more people and realize, you know, how unstable some people can be and how kind of all over the place some people can be. And I'm like, you know, wow, maybe I do kind of keep it cool a lot of times. I do keep it calm. I do, you know, kind of have my mental health in order for the most part. Obviously, very far from perfect. No, nobody's perfect, but you know, very far from where I am even today. but just my starting point, I feel like I've always been kind of mentally and emotionally aware, you know?
Would you say boxing helps that though too? I mean, it has to obviously because you got to keep your emotions in check when you get in there. Because once you get into a
Absolutely.
fight, man, you got to be ready to think.
Absolutely, and you got to know that these guys aren't punching you in the face because they hate you. You know, this is a sport.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like basketball where you get posted up or you get dunked on or anything like that. You'll get punched in the face. You'll get punched in the nose. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can get seriously hurt. It's just it's part of the sport, so you can't take it personal. I mean, maybe a little bit. There is some sort of emotional and psychological back and forth that you have to play,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at the end of the
Definitely.
day, it's not very personal. You know, this guy's not punching you because he hates you. He's
Yeah.
punching you because he wants to win the fight.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, becoming an advocate is something that kind of spawned again because of the cancer thing. Even when I was going through cancer, when I was in the chemo ward, and I was being treated by the nurses and doctors, and I would sometimes have visitors come by that were previous cancer survivors or just volunteers in general that would like bring you a blanket or bring you a teddy bear, just something to kind of help bring your mood up and just
Mm-hmm.
sit there and talk to you for a little while so you wouldn't feel so alone. And in those moments, sometimes I would find myself kind of comforting them, like letting them know, like, I'm fine, I'm good. This is just something I'm
Yeah.
going through. This is something I gotta, I just show up to my appointments, I show up to my, hospital visits and all that. And, I just do what I gotta do. Of course, I wasn't happy about it, but it was just like another thing, another obligation that was added to my life. And I went in there being as positive as I
Yeah,
could. I would
you
always,
just got
try to
that
joke
feeling just from
around.
the way you're just speaking about it. The positivity just irradiates off you, man. Do you know like are you familiar with like energy principles? Like you just give off this irradiating energy that just attracts people to you. You know, even in the shittiest situation, Devin's gonna be over there in the corner, just lighting up like a candle, man. Like he's gonna be the sunshine in the room kind of thing, man. It's like you always try to turn everything into a positive, and you just give off that feel, man. Like even in our conversations, like we didn't even have to talk verbally to know, like, you just feel like you were so friendly to like just open to the whole conversation. Like, hey, listen, man, I was telling you about the podcast. Oh yeah, and I seen your posts and stuff too, and I'm just like, man, there's something about you was just and now I could see it though. Meeting you in here, talking to you now, it's like you could feel it. Like I'm a big energy person. I learned this later on in the show as I went, and I didn't even know the whole sector even existed until I had somebody come on and was explaining it to me. But like, it's one of those things you could just feel. It's like you just like, okay, all right, yeah, and then when you get that feeling from your post and like your posts come up and everything else, and you're just like, ooh, something about it attracted it. But now it makes sense to me because it's like, it's like the idea of the energy principle is like you attract the people you want around you. Okay. And then anybody else that leaves your orbit is basically they didn't like the energy you're putting off, which is fine, because at the end of the day, it happens. People come, people go if they don't like what you do. And in this space, especially, it's a rough ride, man. Sometimes you get people that don't like, can't handle certain conversations. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but man,
Right.
you just
Yeah.
give off this positive energy, dude. It's so great. I love it.
Man, I really appreciate you saying that. Like, I mean, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera, but like, I get chills hearing stuff like that. Like, it just feels so good to know that I'm perceived in that way.
Yeah.
It's not like I care so much what people think of me
Yeah.
or,
No,
or anything
definitely.
like that, but I do take my reputation very seriously. I do take my aura, just what I bring to the table very seriously. And I
Yeah.
can't force everybody to respect it. I can't force everybody to like it.
No.
And that's fine. If they don't, we just go our separate ways. But I'm not a malicious person. I'm not a negative person. As far as energies are concerned, I recently learned about what an empath is. And I feel
Empath.
like that
Yep.
I am somewhat of an empath where like, I mean, sometimes it's just like it's just getting overwhelmed with emotion when I'm
hmm
with certain people. And it's like I gotta kind of hide it a little bit because it feels a little weird. And I can't tell them like, dude, it's like something about you is
Yeah,
making me feel.
see, it's that weird feeling you get. To me, I call it my spider sense. I'm a huge nerd, so instantly, my first thing is like it's a spider sense. It's like this. It's this feeling that you just know, and like you'll know, you'll probably end up learning. Like I'm energy sensitive though. I can tell when meeting people if I'm gonna like them or not within the first few seconds of a conversation. Like usually, that's
Mhm.
why I buy a little time before I even hit record because I'm like, all right, let me see if I'm really feeling this. Because if I'm really questionable, there's times where I've chose not to continue the recording to do the recording with somebody. I was like, you know what? I'm just not feeling this energy with all due respect. And I'm
Yeah.
very big on it, but it makes sense though, because I get a weird gut feeling, but it was always that weird feeling you could never explain what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to explain. It's definitely more so just a feeling.
Hmm.
But yeah, I want everybody to feel happy. I want everybody to be good at all times. I know it's not a realistic thing that can be achieved at all times, but why not try? There's so much negativity in the world. There's so many problems. There's so much hate and just negativity in general. So I wanted to kind of shake things up, and
Yeah.
it's just what comes natural to me anyways. You know, I'm like a protector, provider, and
Mhm.
I just want everybody to feel at peace all the time. Like I don't like drama, I don't like fighting, I don't like. I know it's weird coming from a boxer, right? But I don't. I'm not
No,
a
it's not weird. It makes sense. It's just, you box, it's just something you do or a profession you do or sports you do. Doesn't mean you always have to be a negative person. You don't always have to be on point all the time. Like, I think Colin McGregor gives a really bad name to people that just do kind of like any kind of combat sports because like he's so on it all the time. But that's just that's just his the thing he is. That's who he is.
right,
Some
right.
people hate it, some people like it, some people are aggressive like that. But it's like you can tell though just from you talking that it's just not your nature, man. It just isn't you.
Yeah, and like you said, when shit's hitting the fan and then the world is crumbling, the sky is falling, and all that. Even in those moments, I get an overwhelming sense of calm. Like I don't
Mhm.
panic like that. I don't get nervous. I do have anxiety. I do get very anxious at times, but sometimes it's
Mhm.
just something that I got to work through at times. And this is something I'm just learning about myself. Like I really was recently diagnosed with anxiety. It might have been this year, 2025, or maybe
Yeah.
like last year, but it was all just stuff that I thought was just part of the normal human experience. We all do this, we all feel this, we all go through these things. And when I finally sat down and talked to somebody, he's like, "No, you're pretty anxious." You know what I mean? So being able to address that and being able to even just have the acknowledgement to know what it is that's really going on inside has helped me understand myself a lot better.
Listen, if you get into energy principles, by the way, a little further, you'll start to realize, like what man generator is and things like that too. Like I'm a man generator. So like I have like 20,000 projects I have my hands in, and it gets funny because human design is where this falls under and it's an energy principle too and things like that. So I started discovering all these different things. So I did those and then I did astrology, man. There's an episode on my YouTube channel that you can watch that it says my astrology readings done and you see the different things and all these cool things. So
Yeah, I'm
I'm all
curious if
about
you
it,
have like
man.
do you have a book recommendation, or like you said, like a YouTube channel that I can maybe
I
check
have my
out? And
YouTube channel. It's like, are you looking for like energy like related
yeah,
topics? Well, I
yeah,
got tons of people for you. Trust me, man. I got a few of them. There's
yeah.
the
You have to shoot me
Metamorphosis
some of
Project.
those.
That's yeah. I'll definitely listen. There's one called, like I say right off the head. One called the Metamorphosis Project that a woman named Tanya Ickenberg runs, and she does a lot of energy readings, and she's an energy healer and things like that too. There's a lot of people I've met I could reach out with you that you could follow up with for sure. There's all these different things. Listen, I've had over 200 episodes in the first season of this show. I've did a lot of interviews, man.
Yeah,
I did a
yeah. No,
lot.
I'm definitely interested to learn a little bit more about that. Just what you said about me, and just some of the stuff you shared about your experiences. It makes me very curious to kind of get a little bit more knowledge
Well, I
on
got
that for
listen,
sure.
I got a few of them for sure, man. There's a couple people that I can recommend right off the bat for energy alone that
Okay.
do a lot of that stuff that can definitely give you a better reading and do like oracle readings with you and things like that. Stuff that'll just start blowing your mind, man. You ever have a tarot card reading done? Because that one's an interesting one too.
I haven't. I haven't. I am
Listen,
curious
I'm
though.
I'm curious to know when you have it done to see what the result, how close it was to what your thought process was when it was going on. Because like it's really crazy. Because like when I was a kid, we thought they were just novelty items. We didn't understand the power of what they really contain. And then my
Right.
wife, she did a couple readings for me, and I'm going to tell you that like you couldn't get any closer to what I was thinking at the time. And I
Interesting.
have a friend. She runs a podcast called Willow Healing Matters. She does oracle readings for me. So she one day was messaging me and she goes, "Hey, listen, put down that energy drink." And I'm like, "Fuck, are you in the room with me? Like, what is going on?" Like, dude, I kid you not. She started, she's like, "Well, you need to go to bed. You're tired or something." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She sent me the card. And I don't remember what the picture of the card was, but it was a card that represents that. And she was explaining to me what it is. And she goes, "Hey, Pete, this is what it is." And she goes in great detail and says, "Yeah, you need to put down those energy drinks and go take a nap and get some rest because you're overdoing it." I'm like, "Fuck, is she in the room with me? Am I on
Right.
camera somewhere?" Dude, I was paranoid as hell, bro. I'm like at work. I'm like, "The fuck is going on here, dude? What?" And I sent her a picture and said, "How did you know?" She goes, "The cards don't lie." I'm like,
Wow.
but it's so fascinating, man, when you get into that kind of stuff, and things like that too. So, but
Yeah.
let's get back to your channel here. Okay. So
Okay.
when did you start it exactly?
It started earlier this year, man. I'm brand new to this whole social media
Hmm.
influencer and inspirational thing. Like, it's something that it took me a while to get to this point, to gain the confidence, or just to even gain the awareness to acknowledge the fact that, I have a story, and I have, a narrative that can maybe help inspire other people and help other people. And it's something that took many people over the last several years telling me like, "Hey man, you should write a book. Hey man, you should start a podcast. Hey man, you should, just you have what it takes to help people." And I'm just thinking like, they're just talking. They're just,
Hmm.
trying to gas me up, whatever. But, just after so many people, I'm like, you know what, let me give it a try. Let me see if I can actually start putting some content out there that can maybe help anybody that might be going through a hard time. And trauma can be, in my opinion, can be anything, or as far as what I'm trying to help with, it doesn't have to be cancer. Like my situation was cancer, you know, but I also have, like you said, the health issues and nutritional things. So getting into working out a little bit more, or just the addiction thing where mine is obviously a food addiction, but you know, addictions are pretty much the same across the board where it's like there's a mental thing that you have to get in there and you have to break it and say that I don't need this substance to make me happy anymore, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so just the acknowledgement of saying, you know, I've gone through a lot of shit. You know what I mean? I've gone through so much stuff and I've gotten to the point where I feel like it's somewhat of a success story now. My story is far from over, but if I was to die right now and you know, some of the stuff that you listed along with you know, several other things, I feel like people would look at it like, hey, you know, he did pretty good for the cards that he was dealt.
Yeah, yeah, it's especially like I said, from where you went to for you now, it's just inspirational because it's like, listen, I went from this to that. It's just like, because that'll be the first thing people ask you though. It's like, what do you know about this? And then, okay, well, cool. Like, yes, here we go. Let's go down the line for you. Let's give me a quick free
Right.
time. You know what I'm saying though? But yeah, man, like I said, when I found your content, I was so interested and it was so fascinating to me because I was like, man, I started posting a lot of things. The algorithm could be your friend or could be your enemy, actually, at this point, because a lot of shit it just gives you could be just stuff that's trying to keep you engaged and keep you addicted to watching and things like that too.
Hmm.
But I came across some of your stuff and I was like, damn, this is really good. I like this. All right, cool. And I reposted it and then you start liking it. Hey, thanks for liking this. I was like, okay, cool. Like it was just weird. To me, it's weird when people respond to you and certain things. Like sometimes you don't even hear anything from anybody. Nobody just says, "Oh, hey, thanks for sharing that for me." I was like, "All right,
Right.
cool, all right." And you know what? Well, fuck it. Let me go for it. Hey, listen, I have this podcast. That's how I approach everybody, man. And I've had like to date, I've had a lot of people in the top 1% to 5% of their respective categories in podcasting, including one of them. She's in the holistic category, which energy and all that falls into. So like anybody listening to this or anybody else, listen, just because actually we can share this on your YouTube channel too.
Okay.
Anybody sees it, like, listen, don't ever think that it's ever too hard to reach out to somebody. Like, you never know until you try. That's my best advice to you. I've had people with more success on this show than I ever had. I had a woman had 2 million downloads on her podcast come on this show and was the coolest person you've ever met in your life because they just understand. I had what's his face? The guy who runs the Come On Man podcast, he came on. I've been following this guy forever. And we're on this site, Podmatch, okay? So we're on here, we're matching. Lo and behold, this man's profile shows up and he goes, hey, da 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 da, hey Pete. He reached out to me. In fact, I think it was him that re-engaged me first. He's, hey Pete, listen, I love what you're doing, and I'm just like, holy shit, do I know this guy? I clicked on his picture, and then there he is, boom, right there, and I'm like, holy shit. Hold on, let me check his socials because list all their socials. I go to his TikTok. Turns out it's the same guy I've been following since day one. Paul's content I've been following since day one, and I was like, oh my god. He reached back out and goes, hey, listen, I noticed that you're following me. I'm like, I'm like, yeah. So he was on the show a couple days ago where we recorded from the time this session was being recorded. Coolest guy ever. Let me tell you, like, I've met some people that, I idolize, like the things they were doing. And Paul gave me some great advice in the beginning. He's like, hey, as I said, hey, Paul, listen, I'm going to start a podcast. What is your best advice to me? And he goes, stay consistent. And I said, Paul, I just want to let you know that stayed in my mind the whole time. Anytime I tell somebody that asks me about starting a podcast, and I tell them the same thing I was told. I said, listen, stay consistent because when it comes to it, you have to be consistent when it comes into space. And he and I were discussing it too because someone had reached out to me and mentioned something about my numbers being low, and I'm like, what numbers are we talking about? We're talking about YouTube, Rumble. I'm everywhere. Like I'm everywhere you could possibly be. I'm only in the second year of doing this, and Paul and I were like, Paul's like, yeah, you can't really worry about the numbers at first. You got to just keep going consistent because that's what people like to see, the consistency in things like that too. And that's the hardest part too for a lot of people in podcasting. Is like when you get into it, a lot of people make it past 20 episodes. Shit, I
Yeah.
did 200 in the first year. Like I
Wow.
did twice the amount the normal average podcaster would do. They say like 200 episodes is like 2 years worth of experience, because like 100 episodes. And I got ambitious. I was like, forget it. But I got into the space because my own journey, but I just kept engaging this conversation. And it just became addicting. These conversations came. I was like, I got to keep going, man. I got to keep going because everybody I met had an interesting story, just like yours. I had a guy in the show literally tell me he almost shot himself that morning. It's like the craziest story to date. So, but there's some up there. You get some wild things being in this space, though. So, and it's like I said, when I came across your content, I was like, I like what he's doing. I like the way he's presenting it. You know, it's like it just felt like just so mellow. Like it was just felt like you're having a conversation. Like Devin's talking directly to you. Like it feels like he's just literally having a conversation with you. And and the way you approach it, the way you do it, the tone of voice, all that stuff matters, man. And it's you can tell, like the way you were telling me you have a small team that helps you with it. You can tell, man. Like this is some legit stuff I'm looking at. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I like
Man,
this. You know.
I was just gonna say, I think you're doing a really great job from everything that I've been seeing so far. I know that our connection was very organic and very
Hmm.
authentic, and yeah, like you said, it just felt like that from the very beginning.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But again, man, I just really appreciate you saying those kind words about me and the things that I'm doing because like almost everything that you said is exactly what I'm going for. You know, I
Yeah.
want it to feel personal. Like when I'm recording these things, I'm thinking about the person who's going to watch on the other end. I'm thinking they're going through exactly what I'm talking about right now, and I need to speak to them. I need to speak to
Yeah.
that person who needs to hear this right now. You know, and that's the mindset that I go into when I'm doing that. Even like when I'm doing this, I'm thinking about if somebody sees this and they're looking for some sort of crazy story or some sort of inspiration because they're going through something and they want to know, hey, am I going to make it through this? Am I going to be all right? Like, hey man, look at what I went through, and we're barely scratching the surface. Okay, like
Yeah.
yeah, you've listed a lot of the stuff, but you know, life is a lot more complex than just
Yeah.
the things that happen to you, the big things that happen to you. So all the things that happen in between all that, like. I'm here to tell you that whatever it is, you can make it through it, but you have to do the work. Like we talked about earlier, it's the accountability part that a lot of people have the problem with. They think that their problems are just going to fix themselves magically, or if they just do one thing or just do the next thing, that oh, it's going to make my life a million times better. And it's not like that at all.
Hmm.
The hard truth to hear is that whoever's watching this, you have to do the work. You have to be the one that wakes up every day and make the choice to say, I'm going to work towards being better. Now, that doesn't mean like today is going to be an amazing day. That doesn't mean that today is going to be the best day ever. Today might be the fucking worst day ever,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
shouldn't
True.
stop you from waking up tomorrow and trying again. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have bad days. It doesn't matter if you're a fucking billionaire or if you have negative money in your bank account. It doesn't
Tell
matter.
them in the back. Tell them in the back, sir. Continue the
You
back.
have to understand that there's going to be good days and bad days, but you can't let those bad days and those hard times define you. And if they are going to define you, the definition is going to be that you overcame whatever that challenge was, right? Like, yeah, cancer doesn't define me at all. I went through cancer, I survived that shit. But at the same time, the cancer is not what defined me. But the part that inspires people the most, the part that really has an effect on people is the way that I survived cancer. You know, the attitude that I had, the confidence that I exhumed when I was going through that, just my whole mindset of it's gonna be all right no matter what. You know, even if this thing kills me, I'm not gonna die a miserable person. You know, if this ends up being terminal and this ends my life, am I gonna be that one that sits in the bed and cries about it and everybody's sad and emotional? Like, yeah, it's gonna be sad if that happens, but at the same time, how do I want my family to remember me? To be the one that's moping around because I felt sorry for myself for having cancer, that was never the option. That was never ever going to be the case. It was going to be that, hey, if cancer is what kills him, man, he went out like a fucking soldier. Like he went out with
Exactly.
so much positivity and he went out with so much of an inspirational story and an inspirational mindset. And that's something that I want everybody to have because even if life doesn't work out in your favor, that doesn't mean that you can't be positive and still enjoy the life that you have.
No, I agree, man. I think that's great. I think that's exactly what people need to do. But it's like you have so many negative things coming in. You're like, so let me ask you this though. Like when you started posting stuff, do you get a lot of negative comments on your stuff? Like people saying like the stupidest shit. I think one of the videos I just watched was the one where it said like, just get over it or something. I can't remember what I was watching. The one I said, I told you said, I said the other types and I go, tell them in the back, D, tell them in the back. Because you were stating some things that all made sense there though, because people like to say that, oh, well, just get over it. Depressed, just get over it. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
oh, it
that's not
was
how
the
this
one
works.
saying, healing is it's
Yes,
not
there you go.
always smooth and crystals and all that. Yeah, no, healing is fucking ugly sometimes, man. Healing is hard. Healing hurts sometimes, but that's just the reality of it. And I think the biggest problem is that people want to run away from pain. People want to run away from challenges. People want to run away from the hard shit. But getting through the hard shit is what gets you to the paradise. It's what gets you to the relaxation. It's what gets you to the happiness. You have to be able to earn your happiness. You can't just say, I want to wake up and have an amazing day. Like you have to wake up and choose to have an amazing day. You have to make the right decisions throughout the day. And yeah, you might fuck up and make a wrong decision. You might make a bad decision. You might make a mistake, whatever. And that might put a damper on your day. It might make things harder. It might throw an extra challenge in. But at the end of the day, you still have control of how you feel about it. You might not
Yeah.
control everything that happens, but you can control how you feel about it, in general terms.
No, I agree 100% with you there. It's just a mindset game. It's hard too because I have depression. Some days my depression's really fucking bad. Like people never know. Like I come and record this show, people would never have an idea what I deal with outside of it. And it's only because like it's that thing of, people like to tell you, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And it's like, I don't want to I already feel like shit. I don't need you to pile the shit on, unfortunately. And it's like, let's get real for a minute here. Like, I don't want to fucking hear your how you feel so sorry. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for you. If I'm in a shitty mood or I'm feeling depressed, I'll let you know that I'm not feeling today. I
Hmm.
have suicidal ideation. I've had it a couple weeks ago. In fact, I'll admit it to it right now. I'll tell y'all right now I did. And the conversation didn't go so well with the other person I talked to about it. It got fucking ugly. I was told basically to use them as the 13th reason why. And it was like, did I let that defeat me? Fuck no. I was like, it's things I battle with every single day. There's a lot of shit I don't tell people that goes on in the back
Hmm.
scene. Like my anxiety, some days I lose the battle sometimes because like I'm the type of person like if we have an argument about a conversation and nothing's resolved, like that my anxiety will take it and go, whoop, let's go, Sonic the Hedgehog style, take off.
Right.
But it's like, it's hard to talk to some people about it because it's like they just don't get it. And you can tell what people get it and what people don't get it. But to your example though, like ever since doing this show, the way people look at me, it's interesting because a lot of people go, "Well, I didn't realize you were so smart," or something like that. Someone had made that comment. I was like, or is it that you didn't listen to my fucking opinion and what I had to say? Because that whole middle child syndrome thing happens. A lot of times
Uh-huh.
that comment comes up or people come in and say, "Hey, listen, I like what you're doing." In fact, I had a random guy I've never met. I knew I don't even know his name, come up to me and say, "Listen, I love your show. I've been listening to it." I'm like, talking to me? Like, it's so surreal when people tell you that. Like, you know what? And it was funny because me and a couple friends that have a couple other podcasts, we were in a group. We talk about this on Instagram. They were like, one of the girls was like, "You know what, Pete? I hear your fucking name more." And then another guy named Mr. Whiskey runs a podcast called Couple of Nukes. Our names come up more than anything. It's like, listen, I may not have a lot of downloads and everything right now, but more people know my fucking name than most of these people with 50, 60,000
Right.
subscribers and shit. It's like, oh, cool. So then we turned into quoting Wolf of Wall Street saying, "Oh, you gotta get those rookie numbers up." And I think that's the problem. People get into the space of podcasting too, is that they want to make money right away, and it's not how it works. You have to build. You have
Hmm.
to put the work in, man. It's a work. Let me tell you, doing this show from the beginning to where I'm now, I have so much easier things now. I figured out a lot of the things. In the beginning, it was a fucking nightmare. I
Yeah,
was
and
telling
just
I was
like
telling Devin off the air though beforehand that like when I started, my shit shot off to the end of the fucking year.
yeah, and sometimes that foundation, it's the most important thing, but sometimes it just takes the longest to build,
Mhm.
and nobody will see the finished product for sometimes many years to come. But that foundation
God,
that
do you know
comes
some of the
first,
interviews I've
it
done
takes a
that come
long
out like I
time.
did like months ago? They're like, and me and someone else were talking about this too. I was like, "So what did you? Hey, did y'all mention my name or something?" I was joking with somebody. So the girl I mentioned earlier about her podcast, I was like, "Hey, so I saw you had so and so. Did they mention my name?" So it was an inside joke, and she's like, "I don't remember. I recorded that months ago."
Right. See, yeah. So, yeah, people won't see the finished product for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's to go back to your question. I mean, I don't get a lot of negativity. I don't. Maybe it's kind of hard to hate on my stuff because it's so it's mostly just positive stuff.
oh,
But
you'll get
I don't
somebody,
get
I'm
a lot of
sure.
negativity online. Thankfully, at least not right now.
Yeah, but
Um,
do me a favor, don't focus on that shit. Don't be like Bert Kreischer when he makes a really
yeah,
good point. Guy has millions of followers. He focuses on the negative comments. Don't let those fucking people bother you, dude. Fuck them.
yeah, for
That's what
sure.
I say.
Yeah, yeah. No, I appreciated it. If I ever get to the point where people start hating on me, I'll keep those words in mind. But
Right.
yeah,
Just
right
tell him,
now I don't
Pete.
think
By the
I'm
way, my
even big
buddy
enough.
Pete said to go fuck yourself. By the way, he
Yeah,
said
he said,
his
"Fuck
words
you."
exactly. He's like, they weren't my words. They were his words to tell you.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I've never actually been officially diagnosed with depression, but man, you know, I've done a lot of research and a lot of reading, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that I've dealt with it as well. I
Well,
know
if you have
sometimes
anxiety, a
people,
lot of times they go hand in hand and one feeds into the other. And it's like an infinite loop of fun that just happens.
yeah, yeah, it's
So,
like
you
it's an
have those
endless
ups and
cycle,
down
man.
days. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
so I feel for you, man, and I don't have uh too much experience with that as of late, thankfully.
Yeah.
But I know when I do go through it, Like it feels good to know when you have somebody there to talk to. It feels good to have somebody
You know,
to
I
to
do.
lean on. But at the same
Shout out to my
time,
buddy Lewis. So yeah, he's been a good friend of mine. This guy, me and him have been through some fucking hell together. We've been through several relationships together. He was
that's
there
awesome.
with my ex, you know, that we had. There's a whole another story that goes like my whole past. Like I'm like you, I don't really share a lot of it because a lot of it I'm kind of ashamed of it a little bit. But I did it. You know, like the things I did, I'm gonna have to admit that I did it, and I'm okay with that. I'm ready to upfront face that. So I was actually considering an episode coming out that people are really going to be shocked when they find out the real stories. But yes, I have somebody like that, and that is some great advice. Honestly, have that support system is I think what you're looking for. It's like the support
Right,
system to people that you can call and reach out to. Like if I called this guy at 2 a.m., Lewis would know 2 a.m. your time because he's in California with you. He knows that it's an emergency call. Like if I'm
right,
calling him, I ain't calling him just to call him to tell him, hey, listen, fuck you, and hang up the phone because I probably would do that just to mess with him because
right.
that's just how good friends we are, But
Yeah,
when it comes to that D, that's a really good point, man. Honestly, they just have
yeah.
a really good support system.
But also, what I was going to say to add on to that is that having the support system is great. Find somebody that you can really trust, that's non-judgmental, and that won't,
Hmm.
make you feel bad, or even shun you for whatever it is that you bring to them. It could be something embarrassing, something crazy,
Hmm.
but at the same time, don't 100% rely on
Exactly.
any external force or person or energy to make you feel better. Again, all this stuff is within. You know what I mean? It's the
Hmm.
acknowledgement and the accountability that, hey, I have control of this. It's your brain that's making this happen. It's not that friend that didn't
Yeah,
accept your call or that left you on red or that said fuck you or you're ugly or whatever. It's none of that that's making you depressed.
that's more
It's
just
how
excuse
you're
than anything. Yeah.
processing these things. It's how you're handling this internally. So the only way to fix it is to go inside and acknowledge it and find the root of the actual problem and really do the work to resolve it. It's not something that's going to happen immediately. It's not something that you're going to be able to find out and figure out instantly. It's something that takes a lot of time. And if you really are struggling with depression or anxiety or anything like that, you have to know that it's going to be a long road. Like don't
Hmm.
be daunted by the fact that you're going to be dealing with this for a while. Like this is a normal human experience, especially with the way
Yeah.
society and civilization is now. It's a normal human experience at this point to be depressed or anxious at some point. And so
Right.
once you start looking within and try to find out what those triggers are and what the real root of the actual issue is, that's the only time that you're going to find true healing and resolution. It's just that, again, that's the hardest thing to do. It's so easy to say, it's your fault. You did this to me. You made me feel this way. You made me think like this. It's so easy to do that.
Yeah.
But
It
when
is.
you
It is. I
turn
can
your
admit you
finger
that.
back to yourself and say, no, I misunderstood something, or I didn't like what they said, or, but they have the right to say that, or they have the right to feel that way. At the end of the day, almost every problem that we have is an internal thing, and it's based on how we processed the external factors. So when we
Yeah.
look on the inside and we find a better way to process these external factors, then internally we can start to be healed, we can start to be full, we can start to be happy, we can start to be content with the things that are going on. But again, it takes a while. And depending on how deep you are into your depression and your anxiety and whatever other diagnosis you have, that unfortunately means it's probably going to take a little bit longer. But that doesn't mean you're not going to start to feel better. You
Yeah.
know, you'll start to feel better, but you have to know that there's going to be ups and downs,
Hmm.
and you have to be willing to ride that wave. Okay, don't give up when it goes back down. It's gonna go back up. That's the balance of life. It just does that shit. It's gonna do it for the rest of your life. And hopefully the goal is the ups and downs will start to smooth out, and then it'll be less ups and downs. You'll just be more stable. Okay, like, but the ups and downs are gonna happen no matter what. But the
Yeah,
peaks
it's
and
the same
valleys don't
thing.
have to
Same
be
thing when it
so
comes to like weight
extreme.
loss too. Is the same thing too. When you look at your weight, it fluctuates, and that's a lot of things I learned when I started looking at that stuff too. Because I was
Hmm.
doing a lot of lifting, and I got to get back into it. But when I was doing it, I was looking at that because that was one thing you learn kind of the same thing. It fluctuates, and but it's all
Hmm.
great points though because like you're gonna have the ups and downs. And Lewis and I, we talk all the time, man. We just talk in general. Like he knows if I needed to call him, I had to vent about something. He's just like, hey, what's up? Listen, I got to tell you something. Call him, da 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 da. Okay, click, and hang up the phone. Sometimes that's how the conversations go, honestly. And a lot of times it's getting that thought out of your head because with anxiety, when it gets in there, man, it locks in and it starts spinning like Sonic the Hedgehog. It'll start going like the Flash. And sometimes it's easier just to say it out loud. Like if you just say it out loud and think and realize how dumb it is, a lot of times you can fix the problem yourself. And I know that's with me, it helps too. Is like I start really just analyzing it and talking about it out loud and going, well, how dumb does this fucking sound? Like, look at where we started to where we're at now.
Right.
But in those situations where I just got to tell him something, like, listen, I will call him sometimes and tell him, man, honestly, I know it sounds fucked up, but that's how we are, man. We are just that good of friends. We like to trash talk each other all the time.
Hmm.
We're out each other. He can call me the same thing too. Say, hey man, I got to talk to you. But it's interesting though, since this podcast started though, other people come up to me and go, listen, hey, I understand you can understand this conversation, and start telling me like personal things that I'll never share with anybody else. Because they've told me these things and I respect their wish and things. And so let me ask you this though: what is your goal for the channel? What do you see in like 5 years? Do you see like we're gonna be on Spotify, everything else, like I am everywhere?
For sure. Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely want to be on Spotify. I definitely want to be on as many platforms as possible.
Hmm.
But honestly, like I was saying, I just want people to not feel so alone in whatever they're going through. I want people to know that everybody's life is completely unique and different in millions, billions of ways, really, if you think about it. But the human experience in general terms is the same for all of us. And we're all going to deal with these problems. And I want people to know that you're not alone. And there ain't nothing special about me at all. I guarantee you. It's just the way that I
Yeah,
think
no,
about
no
things and
ego
the
in
way
this
that I
man whatsoever.
process.
Let me tell you, he has not at once in this conversation talked about himself hardly.
It's not who I am, it's the way that I process things that I think
Yeah,
makes me who I am, you know what I mean? And that's something that anybody can do, and, it's very hard to get me to be down, it's very hard to get me upset, it's very hard to get me even emotional a lot of times, at least in a bad way, like to be
yeah, no, I
angry
hear
or
you.
upset or anything. So,
My
yeah, I
thoughts. I
mean
listen. I do have a question for you to cut you off
yeah.
really quick. Like, how do you process grief? Like for you, how's it go? Is it just like very easy for you to get through it, man? Because you seem like the type of person that you just like would never tell anybody that you're struggling on the inside. When it happens, you're just kind of dealing with it internally.
Yeah, you nailed that on the head, man. Like I deal with so much internally. I'm very introverted. I'm
Hmm.
very to myself. I mean, I don't share very much of anything, and that's what took me so long to even start this whole social media thing. Like it took like so many people to tell me like get up and do this. Like you can really help people,
Yeah,
because I don't talk to a lot of people either. And when I do talk to people, I prefer stuff like this, like face to face. I don't like group situations. I like to really focus on who I'm talking to and give them all of me, and I
yeah,
want to receive all of them. So when I talk to people, they can see how and who I am truly as a person. And so yeah, when I'm going through something like that, I don't like to burden people with these things, and I feel like I'm pretty good at processing things. So whether it's the loss of a loved one or whether it's something just terrible that happened in life, like I've been through so much stuff where I know that eventually stuff is going to work out. It may not work out the way that I would like it to work out or the way that I prefer things to work out. But at the end of the day, things are always going to be just fine. Things
right.
are always going to be okay, and we have to be willing to accept that we don't have full control of everything, and you have to be willing to understand that life won't always go your way and it's going to be fine. You just have to keep going and keep pushing and just keep rolling.
Hmm.
And when we lose people or when we have things like that, again, it may not be what we wanted, but these are all natural things that happen in life.
Yeah,
And when you take a step back and really look at the big picture, you just say, hey, that's something that was bound to happen. It wasn't something that was in my control. It wasn't like I made a mistake. It wasn't like it's not my fault. Like, of course, I'm sad. Of course, I'm, not feeling good about whatever the situation may be. But again, going back to everything is internal, and the way that you process something will dictate so many things. So, yeah, I mean, when I'm going through something like that, I just kind of keep it to myself for the most part, and just work through it. Just work through it and process it, and just know that everything is going to be okay in the long run.
absolutely. I absolutely love it, man. Absolutely. All right, so we're at the fun part of the show. I don't know if you've ever listened to one of these episodes or seen one of these. You're gonna get the all important question. I'm sure you've seen pop up on my social medias. Devin, if your mental health had a song, what would that song be?
Man,
You should have already seen this one coming, man. See, this one's a great question, though. Okay, so like, here's how I explain it to people. You could break it down however you like. Like, some people had multiple song answers. Others had some just funny ass ones to respond. It's just like Paul, he said, "I can see clearly now the rain is gone." So that's why when his post popped up and it had it on there, me and him were laughing because that's the song he had said right there, and I was dying laughing about this. I was like, "That's fucking great."
oh man, yeah. Let's see. I had a couple of options that I wanted to choose from, but I'm like
What's
trying
the
to think.
first one that comes to mind? Oh, this is
Somewhere
gonna be
over the
good.
rainbow.
Oh my god, yes, dude. I had a feeling it would be something that's fucking great.
Yes, somewhere over the
I was
rainbow.
thinking the Willy Wonka maybe too, possibly in there. Just like that
Which
song he sings
one?
in the beginning. Can you see the one he sings
Oh,
in the
yeah,
beginning? Yeah, I felt that one was gonna pop
yeah,
out too. The way you start laughing, like he's gonna say something completely obscurely that we're not gonna see coming, and there
yeah,
it was
something
over the
unexpected,
rainbow.
right? Yeah, somewhere over the rainbow,
But it's
man.
a great conversational piece though, because you ask people that question. The one woman that has the 2.6 million downloads, Gretchen from the podcast called The Shit That Goes On in Our Heads, she asked me that question too. And I was like, damn, yeah, that's a good fucking question. I like this
Yeah,
one. Okay. So I stole it from her and I've been using it now asking people. So you get
that's a
so
good
many
one.
interesting answers. So Susan Snow, the author of The Other Side of the Gun, she said Rage Against the Machine was hers. I was like, yep, Susan, you get me. You get me. Because I'm a big Rage Against the Machine fan. I've had Michael Jackson's Beat It be mentioned. The Doors came up. God, what was there's somebody that came with some like things I've never heard. Someone's like, well, these. I'm like, I don't care. Just tell me what they are. Like, I'll
Yeah,
go check
yeah,
them out right after this and see what it is. Someone said a pianist, and it's always interesting to see what people have to say because it's like, okay, all right, I get you now. I get you now. Because my
yeah.
answer was, I can't think of what the band name is now. Have you ever seen the movie Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
Nah,
Dude, you're missing out. Okay. Anyways, it's a funny ass movie. Okay. So I love a lot of those corny ass movies. So in the beginning, it's like that real life. It's an actual band song that's in the beginning of the movie, but that's when it's when my anxiety's at its highest. It's like that constant, noise or like a punk
yeah,
rock kind of like intro
yeah.
song, or it's really fast paced. And then when my depression hits, it could be one of three songs. Okay. It could be Leave a Light On, Talk Away the Dark by Papa Roach. It could be A Different Kind of Pain by Cold, or it could be what is it? Epiphany by Stained.
I haven't heard that one.
That it's a really depressing song,
So
honestly.
here's a good backup song. Look, think of I'm sure you probably know this one. In the End by Linkin Park.
Mm-hmm.
In
Mm-hmm.
the end, it won't even matter. Everything that you're going through, all this crazy shit, like in the end,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Fantastic
Um,
guy, though. I love Chester Pennington. Everything he did, I loved it. I think that every time he interviewed, I think he was a very interesting person to listen to because he told a lot of people he was struggling. So, like, when these people say, oh my God, da da da, these things, I'm like, but really, did you really listen to what he was telling you? He told you in an interview that he struggles every day with life. And I could feel that with him. Some days it's like that for me. Like, some days it's just hard, but I get up and if I have to record with people, I get up to record the show because it's just the fact I get that voice that people are like, hey, listen, I appreciate what you're doing, just pops up every time. And it's like, I do it for them and I do it for me too, because it matters to somebody out there. If it just one person hears this conversation and they take away that, that it made them feel a different way, or they said, oh man, I love it. That's it. You won the battle. It doesn't matter. The
yeah,
downloads don't mean shit to me, honestly.
right.
To date, we're at like 2,000 downloads. But anyways, that's pretty good for a first year,
Hey, the way
honestly.
that I look at it, like even if I were to die today or tomorrow, and like I've had so many people, even with my small following,
Hmm.
and I mean, I've had so many people that I've talked to that it just feels so good because they tell me that I've inspired them, or that I
Hmm.
make a difference to them, or just the small bit of conversation that we might have here and there just means so much to them. And it's
Yeah.
like people don't just say this stuff for fun. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
something that people it really means something to these people. And every time, man, like I told you, I feel the energy. Like I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it. Like I feel like I've already done my part. Even if this
Yeah.
was to all end right now, I've
This is
done
you're here
enough to
now.
be
You touch
satisfied.
you reached to me, man. Like I said, I reached out to you, and that's it. There's your one person right there. Like
Yeah.
you're, us, our
And I'm trying to
connection
grow
alone.
yeah, yeah, and I appreciate that, man. Like that means so much to me. And so knowing that it's only gonna go up from here and it's only gonna grow from here, like I said, I feel like I'm already a success in doing what I set out to do when I started the social media thing. So
Yeah.
anything on top of this now is just all bonus icing on the cake.
Yeah, honestly, I don't let the numbers bother me. Like, it's interesting to see the patterns of things. To me, I'm shocked 2,000 people fucking download this thing. I'll be honest
That's a
with you. I
lot.
was just like, that's a lot in the first year. I was just like, holy shit, okay. Some people are like, well, I hit my 100,000. Okay, cool. Like, I don't let people's other success bother me because it's like, I'm in a different space than most of these people are. And it's like, like in this space, it's like all that matters is that somebody is getting something out of this. A lot of guests I've had on the show have heard other people's interviews, have come on and were like, listen, I get emails all the time. Hey, listen, I heard this episode of so and so. And it's like, oh, wow. I had a guy, and I'm a big NHL fan, come on. He told me that he's been listening to a couple of these episodes. So shout out, to him, definitely, because he was like, oh, yeah, I was listening to this. And I was like, oh my God, really? And he's an ex NHL player, skills coach. And now he writes the 99 Rule series, and things like that
Yeah.
too, and everything like that. And he was so cool to have on. And then when he was telling me that, I was just like, oh my God, this has to be surreal because I'm a massive hockey fan and he didn't know any of this
Yeah,
beforehand. But I'm a huge hockey fan. I'm listing off these players and he's just like smiling there. Like I feel like he's coached some of these people somewhere. He just couldn't tell
yeah.
me because it's a privacy thing. He did say that some of the people he's coached, they've got some rings. I'm like, oh,
Wow,
okay,
that's
flex a little
awesome.
bit on
Yeah,
this. But when people tell you they listen to what you're doing and hear what you're doing, it's just so it feels so surreal. You deal with a lot of imposter syndrome at first because it's like, okay, I'm having a conversation, but a conversation is so powerful. Think about it, that's how we do a lot of things. Debates, conversation, TV shows, conversations, all these interviews, conversations. You know what I'm
the
saying? You're just
dialogue
having
matters.
conversations with people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. The dialogue matters. And like you were saying before, even if you're in the same space as another podcaster, another
hmm
influencer or whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. What There's no
hmm
comparison. You're you and they're them. We're not here to compare each other.
Tell
Like
them
we're
in
all
the
here
back
to just to
again. I
add.
don't think they
Like
can hear you back there. Shout it louder for him because I think that's a fantastic point. If anybody takes anything away from this whole conversation, what he just said there is what matters. And it's the same thing I tell people. It doesn't matter what space you're in. You can't say it 1,000 times enough. It doesn't fucking matter if so-and-so show is doing, okay, well, they've been doing this longer than you. Okay, they're longer. That's cool. You worry
yeah,
about what you're doing. Respectively,
exactly.
okay, listen to what they're doing and take notes of things that they're doing that may work. Okay, that's cool. Pay attention to what other people are doing that's clicking. But don't let that discourage you from doing your own thing because you're your own person, and things like that too. There's so many people I meet that you get into space and things like that too. There's actually a good friend of mine I mentor, Jay. He runs a podcast called Rock and Recovery. He's got in this because of me, and he'll tell people that I nagged him again. By the way, wasn't the story. I saw him, and I was like, Jay, you have something, man. I was like, why keep it contained to one thing? Why not spread it out for everybody to hear? And he loves it. He absolutely loves it from here. The conversations he has and things like that too and all that kind of stuff. He just hit 50 episodes too, so congratulations to him on that one. I was actually his
Congrats.
50th
Yeah.
interview. Me and him had a great time when we were
That's
doing that.
awesome.
So,
Yeah.
and a lot of things like that too. It's so cool, man. Like for you to be here. So let's end it
Yeah.
on this note, okay? Before we wrap
For
up,
sure.
if you could break the stigma about mental health, okay? So now this is anything that you see that just absolutely burns your fucking barn. You're just like, I'm tired of hearing this shit. What would you say that would be for you?
Yeah, I think we touched on it earlier. Is just that it's not an external thing. Your mental health is your mental health. It's something that you have to fix. And so you could feel like you're perfectly fine or whatever, but at the end of the day, you have to look within and understand that your mental health belongs to you. You are the one that's in control of it. There may be some external factors that kind of manipulate it a little bit and have
Mm-hmm.
have an effect on it, but at the end of the day, you are in full control of it. And for some people it may be harder than others, or for some people it may be easier than others. But I don't want to hear that you can't fix it, because you can fix it. It might just be very, very, very hard, and that's not. I don't say that lightly, because some people, as much bullshit as I've been through, my life has been hard as hell. There's some people that have had it 1,000 times, a million times harder. They're going through some crazy stuff, and some people are born into drama and born into some terrible situations. And luckily for me, I wasn't, but my life was still phenomenally difficult. You know what I mean? So I can't imagine some people that are born into the drama and the stress and the craziness. So yeah, it's not always going to be easy, but it is possible to be fixed. It is possible to be healed. You just have to work towards it and be willing to put in that work and acknowledge and hold some sort of accountability, knowing that you have the power to make it better.
With that being said, we're going to wrap up this episode of Peace versus Anxiety. Devin, tell people where they can find you. Obviously, Trauma Saves on everything. Are you on everything right now? I know you're on Instagram and YouTube. Am I missing any sites that you're on?
Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok right now, and I'm planning to move towards Spotify and Apple Music as well. And I think that's probably about it for right now. I'm kind of overwhelmed as is, but I want to be on as many platforms as possible. So if anybody out there has any ideas or anything that can help kind of push the agenda or anything, definitely reach out to me. It's at Trauma Saves on every platform.
Sounds good. And with that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode of Pete versus Society. Devin, thanks so much for being here, man. This was
Thank you for having
awesome.
me.
I definitely want you to come back another time. We'll talk about it as you start getting bigger and bigger, bigger. We'll start talking about your
Absolutely.
success and the things you're doing, obviously. So with that being said, guys, you know where to find me on Pete versus Anxiety. I'm on X all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify all the way down to Pandora Radio. And as always say, it costs nothing absolutely to be kind to somebody. One kind act you could do could save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete versus Anxiety signing off saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health today?
So bad, you fucking breaking my neck.